But the MST3K Kickstarter was massively successful. They funded 14 episodes. The original goal was only 13. They did more than that. They did this marathon the last day, like a live marathon. They had people on, and they revealed the cast members at the same time. So we're talking $6.3 million, and it broke the record for something like this previously held by the Veronica Mars movie, which was $5.7 million. So yeah, you're going to have about a year from now, you're going to have a full season of MST3K. However, you're going to have people doing the show that you are maybe not familiar with and are brand new. And that's what Ian's concern about was originally, about who they're going to get on the show. So you're going to have the star. My biggest reservation is the star. The guy replacing Joel and Mike is Jonah Ray, he's from the Nerdist. I've seen his stand-up on YouTube after finding out who he was. Not the strongest. I know stand-up is difficult. It's one of the hardest things in the world to do, to be a good stand-up comedian. But his stand-up was not strong. Now, that's not to say he can't be a good writer and performer on this. But if that was an indication, I'm not happy about the selection. That said, though, I'll give him a shot and see how he does. Obviously, they have the two baddies, replacing Dr. Forrester, TV's Frank. You have Felicia Day as a choice. Felicia Day, she's known online. We'll see how she does. I mean, to me, so far, these selections are, we'll get people that millennials know and like and plop them into these roles. I mean, I'm going to be honest. That's how it seems like Joe Hodgson's selecting these people. Mm-hmm. Then he gets Patton Oswalt. That's, to me, a much stronger choice to be TV's Frank's son. He kind of looks like Frank Conn, who played TV's Frank. Patton Oswalt has the pedigree to be a wacky character like that. No problem with that selection at all.
That's probably a pretty good one.
The other two guys that are doing Crow's voice and Tom Searle's voice, Baron Vaughn and Hampton Yount, not familiar with I think they're younger stand-up comedians. I'm not familiar. Again, this could be sort of, they're younger people, they're known, millennials, let's plop them in. And then they're going to have a bunch of guest writers involved. You have Joel Hodgson. Remember, Joel Hodgson was a pretty big comedian in the 80s. He was on, he did SNL. He was on, I believe, David Letterman. Maybe Johnny Carson, I'm not sure. But he was known before all this. He did comedy, and he always had his inventions with him. So he's friends with people like Jerry Seinfeld. They're friends with Joel Hodgson. So Jerry Seinfeld might be involved in some capacity with this to help out his buddy. He helped promote the Kickstarter. So you're going to have guest writers and maybe guest appearances by some pretty big people. But that's not what the issue is. The issue, though, is who is going to be the head writer? Who's going to corral all this together? Who's going to be that single voice to bring this all together? And I don't know if that's been announced yet, or that's yet to be seen. And that's really what this is all going to hedge on. Because at the end of the day, from season 2 on, Mike Nelson, he was the head writer.
Right.
So everyone had a say in what riffs got in the movie and everything, but you always had one person. You needed one deciding vote to throw it out or to decide upon. Okay, we're going to have this line of riffs that'll be run through the movie, whether it's making fun of this guy's name throughout the movie. You can't have a hodgepodge. Even if you have 7 people contributing, you have one voice to sort of distill it and have the head writer. So who's going to be responsible? It probably won't be Joel, because the riffing part, and that wasn't his strong point with the show. It was creating the sets and the robots and the concept, but it wasn't actually the writing. And he probably won't be involved in that heavily. So who's going to be the main writer? How is the guest writing going to work? Will they be on screen, the people, or will they just be behind the scenes? So there's a lot of unknowns here. I'm not saying this is going to go awry, but I think they got to be very careful about how this comes together. Especially since, I hate to say this, but the sense of humor for the millennials that are going to be involved in starting this, their sensibilities might be a lot different than the guys still doing riff tracks. Mm-hmm. But the people that backed this, by and large, are going to be the people that loved MST3K 20 years ago and riff tracks. So if they're presented
they're backing something and they might not get what they thought they were backing.
Exactly.
Which is my concern.
If they're backing guys writing jokes that want to maybe play it safer, because that's how comedy is nowadays, and maybe not try to be as edgy, or maybe people... Hell, there was I still watch MST3K and see references that I don't get, or are culturally even 30 years before the 1990. But that was part of the show. You have to appreciate that they had that wealth of film knowledge going back to the 50s and 60s and 40s. Can these new writers and new stars do that to the same effect? Because to them, it will be like them referencing Independence Day, like 20 years ago, versus them referencing stuff in the 70s and 60s in the late 80s and early 90s. So we're talking about, again, the audience for MST3K has gotten older. There hasn't been a show to get a younger crowd along.
Right.
Hell, I tried to do one real quickly. And that sort of stopped for a reason I won't get into now, but you know what I mean? So that's your concern before, but now I think it's been more crystallized now that we've seen who's more involved with this.
Yes.
So I don't know if you have anything to add besides.
No, I mean, you pretty much covered what I was going to say. My concerns initially have just been bolstered. And, I mean, I think it's kind of a happy thing for a lot of people. I don't want to shit on that, but until I sit down and watch an episode of it, I really have no idea what to expect.
Yeah, and people, and all the changes that happened before at MST3K, they're always done one at a time. New servo after season 1. New main host in between season 5. After season 6, TV's Frank's gone. At season 8, that's when you got a new crow. So it was always done. You had a few years to get used to each piece going away and coming back. With this, all new. All at once. New host, new robot voices, new baddies, new set.
It may as well be a new show. It's just got window dressing.
It could be. You still have Tom Servo and you still have Crow. But if people, honestly, it hinges on the head writer and Jonah Ray. If people don't like Jonah Ray, it falls apart.
Yeah.
Because Mike was good because Mike was the head writer. And you had seen him around in bit parts throughout the years. Yeah. He'd show up as the guy from Man. I can't remember his name. Torgo. Showed up as Torgo. He showed up even in voice. So people knew he was part of the show. Jonah Ray's entirely new. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be very interesting. I'm going to be there with bells on.